Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. Thanks for tuning in today. We're talking about the number one New Year's resolution, which is to get healthier. And my guests today are registered dietitians Vanessa Rissetto and Tamar Samuels, co-founders of Culina Health. Vanessa, Tamar, great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, Lori.
Let's talk, Vanessa, about your really interesting new concept, Kalina Health. I think it's going to really benefit a lot of people who want to get healthier, whose New Year's resolution is to focus on their health. But it's a real different type of idea. It's really one of the only virtual platforms with registered dietitians on staff where people can get counseling one-on-one from the comfort of their home, and you take insurance. So it's affordable for a lot of people. Can you talk about how it works, Vanessa?
Yeah, sure. Tamar and I just wanted to make sure that health and wellness was accessible for everyone, which is why we made the choice to take insurance. And so we meet people where they are, and everyone basically is at home. So, there's an intake questionnaire. We find out everything about you. We pair you with one of our very well-trained RDs. All of our RDs are trained clinically in one of the major New York City hospitals. And then from there, we work out a plan for you where you can be successful reaching whatever your health goals are.
So, Tamar, you have been quoted as saying food is medicine. So for people who just generally want to get healthier this year, you believe that starting with food is sort of the best way. Can you talk a little bit more about how food is medicine?
Yeah, Lori. I mean, certainly there's a role for medication in supporting our health, but we can't ignore the role of nutrition in doing that as well. It's so important for us to fuel our body with the appropriate vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients to help support our health and prevent chronic disease. And so we do that through nutrition. We require essential nutrients that help to support our metabolism, our hormones, even our brain health. So nutrition really has a very strong impact on really almost every single aspect of our life.
Vanessa, can you drill down a little bit on that idea that what we eat can actually affect our mood and our relationships and even our work life?
Totally. If we spend a day eating over processed foods, drinking a ton of alcohol, that's going to make us feel sluggish. It's going to disrupt our sleep. It's going to make us not really pleasant the next day. So we really want to make sure that, of course, we can enjoy ourselves, right? There's obviously room for a cocktail. There's obviously room for desserts, but we also want to make sure we're doing all the good things too, right? We want to make sure that we're having vegetables and fruits and, lean proteins and just like honoring ourselves and what our preferences are, but also making sure that we make sure to take care of this machine.
So with Culina Health, there are this is my favorite part, the one-on-one counseling sessions with a registered dietitian. Why is that one-on-one connection? Are those counseling sessions so important for a person to achieve their goals rather than kind of going it alone?
Yeah, you just want to know that there's somebody in your corner, right? If we could do this without the personalization, then 122 million people in America wouldn't have diabetes, right? So having somebody there, having someone that you can bounce ideas off of, having someone that can answer your questions, because nutrition is very complex, really does make the difference. And also just knowing that you have that support is there to motivate you and push you to achieve whatever goal it is that you have.
Well, Vanessa and Tamar, you two came together as women of color. In fact, Vanessa Essence named you one of the top nutritionists who will change the way you think about food. How should we change the way we think about food?
I think that, we have to think of food as doesn't have morality. There's no good food. There's no bad food. Food fuels our bodies. Food is how we connect with our families, with our friends. And, we use food to carry us through this life. So we just need to really understand what our relationship is with food. Everyone has a relationship, and those relationships are complex. So once we understand what our relationship is, the better we can be around food.
And so, considering your background as women of color, how important is inclusivity, I should say, to you when it comes to deserving to be healthy or having accessibility to healthcare?
Everyone deserves to be healthy. We all occupy space in this world of ours. And that's a big part of why we decided to take insurance and also work with people virtually because everyone deserves to feel comfortable, not just in their skin, but also in their health and confident. So it's important for us to be able to serve everybody. And that ranges from people of color to people with different socioeconomic backgrounds from different areas of the country. We really want to just support every single individual.
Well, Tamar, your approach includes psychology and neuroscience. How important are those two things to achieving overall good health?
Very important. We really learned early on that it's not just about providing good quality nutrition education for individuals, it's about supporting healthy habits and behavior change. And after the education stops, that's when the hard work really begins. And so it's really important for us to be able to support people in changing their habits, which requires a little bit of neuroscience and behavior modification. And that really comes from this place of mindfulness, being aware of how our brain works. What are our habits? What are our limiting beliefs? And how we can adjust that to help to support our goals. Because everybody wants to be healthy, but there are so many barriers in getting there. And sometimes those barriers are really internal and mental. And so it's important for us to be able to support our clients in reshaping their habits so they can actually have sustainable results.
Can you kind of tell people where they can get information about your website?
Yeah, our website is actually full of some incredible free resources that are written by all of our registered dietitians. And so they're all evidence based and clinically driven based on our years of experience working with people and what the most recent research says out there as far as nutrition and behavior health is concerned. So you can check that out at culinahealth.com/blog.
All right, well, we're going to take one quick break and be right back. We're talking about that number one New Year's resolution, which is to get healthy. My guests are registered dietitians Vanessa Rissetto and Tamar Samuels. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living, and we're talking today about New Year's resolutions. On the top of the list for most people is to get healthy. My guests are registered dietitians Vanessa Rissetto and Tamar Samuels, co-founders of Culina Health. And this is, again, a fantastic sort of revolutionary idea where you can talk one-on-one with a registered dietitian who can help you with your own personal goals. And they take insurance. So this is affordable for a lot of people. And ladies, you mentioned earlier, how important it is for you to serve all communities. And you talked about communities of color in particular. What are some of the health challenges for the communities of color? And how do we as a society meet them? And how does your business meet them in particular?
I think for a long time, it seems that because you are someone of color, then you cannot be healthy because of X, Y, and Z. Because you're African American, then you have a propensity towards diabetes. But in the reality, it's really about the fact that people have lack of access. They have lack of education. Their socioeconomic class is a barrier. So those are things that we are aware of. And so because of that, we train our RDs in a lot of cultural competency, and we make sure that they understand how to treat all people, no matter what their color, what the socioeconomic class, whatever external factors that we can't change. Those are still not. That's not a hindrance. We're still going to be able to help you in some way, even if it's the smallest way. Those small ways do definitely make big impacts.
So again, you talked about affordability of healthcare and how sometimes that can be a barrier for certain people. How does the insurance situation work? A lot of people might be surprised to know that you do take insurance.
Yeah, so most people have at least one nutrition counseling session with their insurance. It's considered prevention, and most of them are upwards of 12, 26, and even unlimited. We also take Medicaid plans. So we really are contracted with most payers, and we can help you. And if you don't have insurance, we do have sliding scale payments, so we make things work for people who want to get help.
So people can sign up for the sessions on your website. Can you kind of describe? I mean, people might feel a little bit awkward and not know what to expect. Can you sort of describe what that session would be like?
We would find out a lot about you before the session. And then the first session is just your RD trying to just get to know who you are. What are your habits? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? How are you motivated? And then at the end of the session, we'll set one small goal that you could work on for the week that we can support you in. And then from there, we build on your successes and we pivot where we need to. And we just ensure that you're going to be successful through this journey.
So, what type of diet do you promote? A lot of people are like, should I do the paleo diet? Should I do the intermittent fasting? Things like that. What type of diet do you recommend for people to start?
I think all of this really depends on the individual. We are not anti-diet. We believe that there is space for certain diets, especially when managing medical conditions. Medical nutrition therapy is based on, supporting people from a nutrition perspective to meet their needs. For their certain disease states. And so there is a role for certain diets to manage certain conditions. However, instead of following a prescriptive diet plan, we really like to personalize our recommendations to the individual and really take into account what works for them as far as food access, taste preferences, time, and their ability to cook. And so we really work on just integrating, as Vanessa said, small things, small changes that have a huge impact, like incorporating more fruits and vegetables and figuring out how we could make that happen for the individual. If they're managing cardiovascular disease, for example, let's talk about how we can add in more heart healthy fats and fiber. Right? We really like to start with adding stuff in before we take it away, because that really helps to support behavior change. When we focus on restriction and elimination, people tend to fight back and get upset about having to kind of lose some of their favorite foods. And so we're really more focused on how can we support people in adding in healthy foods, and then we can talk about modifying the foods that aren't so great.
So when a lot of people say, I want to be healthier, I want to focus more on my health, that doesn't necessarily mean weight loss. Again, you touched on it just briefly before, but can you talk again about how what you eat can affect all your overall health as far as like things like cancer prevention, even Alzheimer's, obviously heart disease and diabetes?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually see in the research that even just the 5 to 10% weight loss can have a huge impact on metabolic outcomes, including insulin resistance, which is the precursor to type 2 diabetes, and changes in our cholesterol and lipid profiles as well. So even a small amount of weight loss can help to support chronic disease. But outside of the weight loss picture, nutrition and a variety of vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients can really help to fortify our immune system. When it comes to cancer prevention, for example, eating a variety of different color fruits and vegetables contain antioxidants, and those antioxidants have been found to be really helpful for cancer prevention. And so really fighting inflammation, optimizing our immune system, stabilizing our hormones by stabilizing our blood sugar can have such a huge impact. And all of that is influenced by food.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic information. We're going to take another quick break and be right back with Vanessa Rissetto and Tamar Samuels, registered dietitians and co-founders of Culina Health. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living. I'm talking today with the co-founders of Culina Health, Vanessa Rissetto and Tamar Samuels. And Culina Health is a fantastic new idea where you can talk one-on-one from the comfort of your home with registered dietitians. And we know that eating healthier and living healthier is the number one New Year's resolution. So we were talking before about the benefits just for your overall health of a healthy diet. And you talked about even a little bit helps. Can you talk about blood pressure? A lot of people struggle with blood pressure, high blood pressure, and how diet can help that situation, because we know that high blood pressure is the number one risk factor for stroke.
Sure. There are familial risk factors, right? So if this is in your family, if this is, your parents have had high blood pressure, and you're out here exercising every day, drinking a lot of water, eating your fruits and vegetables, and maintaining, a good weight, and you still have high blood pressure, then medication is probably something that's going to help you. But if there are things that we can do to make changes, like Tamar said earlier, right? We know that just a 5% decrease in weight can help with things like blood pressure and heart disease. So we should aim to do that. We also should be mindful of our sodium intake, right? We want to eat as many fresh fruits and vegetables as we can, whole foods. We want to watch the labels, right? We want to have, we're aiming for 2,300 milligrams of sodium or less. That's, the equivalent of 2 teaspoons. So we want to just be looking at the back of our packages. If everything you eat is whole and unprocessed and you're eating fruits and vegetables, but, one or 2 days a week you're eating a lean cuisine because that's quick and easy for you, and you don't really need to be too concerned about the sodium, because that's a once a week thing. If this is something that you're doing every single meal, then we want to be more mindful, so that we're looking for things that are lower in sodium or low sodium on the packaging. That can also help us.
So if you had to say one or two things, the first thing to change or the most important thing to change, what would it be?
I guess I would say we want to make sure that we're getting enough rest, because that is going to make us more clear in our minds and how we think. So that's going to help us make better choices. Also, we want to aim to have at least one vegetable and one piece of fruit per day. Those are really simple, low hanging things, are not very complicated to execute. You can find one fruit or one vegetable that you can tolerate, and you can try to make rest and sleep a priority for yourself.
Wow, that's really interesting to hear a registered dietitian say that sleep is one of the most important things for our health. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, if we're not getting enough sleep, we're not going to be at our best the next day, right? We're not going to be able to make really calculated choices. We're going to be looking for the easiest thing. We're going to be looking for the thing that's, convenient for us. It's going to be difficult to get through whatever we're trying to get through. And so food is going to be the last thing. So instead of, standing up and making the salad and cooking the meal for your family, you might be apt to order out. And that's fine once or twice a week. But if it's every single meal, then we're going to start to run into issues, especially if maybe we have high blood pressure, diabetes, any kind of heart disease. Now we're not controlling what food we're making and what's going in the food. So that's going to make the problems even worse. So getting sleep or just getting rest, maybe not everyone's going to get 8 hours of sleep, and that's fine. But maybe, if you can just start to wind down, get yourself into bed, do something for yourself, maybe a meditation practice, maybe some deep breathing, and just get some quiet time just to relax your mind and your heart from that busy, busy day. You're going to see a lot of benefits from that.
Well, this is amazing information, a lot to think about. We're going to take one more final break and be right back with Vanessa Rissetto and Tamar Samuels, co-founders of Culina Health. Stay tuned.
Stay connected with CBN News all day across our platforms.
Welcome back to Healthy Living, and we're continuing our discussion with Vanessa Rissetto and Tamar Samuels, co-founders of Culina Health. And this is, you talked before about trying to watch the sodium intake, and you mentioned processed food. How much of a difference does cutting back on processed food make in achieving your health goals?
It's such a great question because it really does make a huge difference. As Vanessa said, it's okay to have processed food every once in a while. The problem really becomes when we're leaning on these foods exclusively or almost exclusively for our nutrition. And this is a problem because processed foods are generally lower in fiber, which is a very important nutrient that supports digestion. It also helps to decrease our cholesterol levels. Processed foods generally is also much higher in sodium, as Vanessa mentioned, and doesn't contain those potent antioxidants that we really want to help to support a number of health functions, including our immune system and fighting oxidative stress, which is one of the root causes of chronic disease. It's hard to get antioxidants from packaged foods because they're volatile, meaning they're compounds that oxidize really quickly. And so you really need to get them from fresh foods. And if you're eating something that's packaged, it's not likely going to contain many antioxidants. So making this shift can have a huge impact in your health overall.
Well, a lot of people are intimidated by the idea of cooking at home. They might not think they know how to do it, or might think it might be sort of like the Food Network where it takes a long time and has to be really fancy. Can you address that?
Yeah, cooking is a huge barrier. Actually, it has been a barrier for me in the past, even as a registered dietitian, feeling overwhelmed in the kitchen. I think it's one of those things, again, there's so many recipes out there, not knowing where to start, what's healthy, what isn't healthy. Do I need all of these crazy gadgets? And so cooking can be very intimidating and overwhelming. And so I typically recommend starting with very, very simple recipes and adding as much flavor as possible, right? And so start with something that has no more than, 5 to 6 ingredients and doesn't require all of the different gadgets, right? All you need is a pan, an oven, maybe a spatula, and ingredients that you're familiar with working with, I think is really important. And then you can add flavor from spices and seasonings that are dried or fresh that you enjoy, right? Look for recipes that contain ingredients that actually you'd be open to eating. Maybe you don't eat them frequently, but perhaps you would be open to trying them. It's all about experimentation and letting go of expectations. I think a lot of it, as I was saying earlier, is mental here too, right? Not needing to execute the perfect meal, right? Just try, experiment, and have fun with it.
Well, I'm motivated. So thank you so much for all the information. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but can you tell our viewers one more time how they can get a hold of you and get in touch with you and find out more about Culina Health?
Yeah, we're so excited to support people, especially in the new year. You can find us on Instagram at Culina Health and find us on the internet at CulinaHealth.com. And that's where you can get in touch with us. We also offer free discovery calls. So if you're unsure if this is right for you, you can hop on a call with one of our dietitians and we can sort of talk you through our process, get to know one another and see if it's a good fit.
Fantastic. Well, Vanessa Rissetto and Tamar Samuels, thanks so much for being here. Great to see you.
Thank you,
Lori.
And thanks to you viewers for tuning in to this edition of Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. We'll see you again next time.